Good evening. I'd like to welcome you to another edition of Scars to Stars. Today, I probably am one of the most privileged people because our guest today is somebody that I never knew she was Zambian. I have read her works, I have gone through her works. I thought probably she was from somewhere else, not knowing that she has been and always been one of our foremost women and one of the foremost advocates for women's rights in Zambia. We have spoken to many women. Today we are so honored to have with us on Scars to Stars somebody that really has seen scars on behalf of women, and today I rate her as one of our most shining stars as women in Zambia. Today we have Sarah Longwe, a woman that has been fighting for the rights of women for over 50 years. I want to welcome you, ma'am. Welcome to Scars to Stars.
Thank you.
We call it Scars to Stars because most people see the woman, they see the veneer, but they don't go deep to understand her story. Most people see her and misunderstand and judge and stereotype and generalize, but they never get to see the scars. And women are so good at, they have a high threshold for pain, and nobody knows. But today we want to say, what are the scars that has led and propelled this star to become a star that we celebrate? So this is a celebration of you, ma'am, for you have been a star for us. And we want to start. We tried to do that, but the internet said we had to see you face to face.
Yeah, indeed.
So we want to start by asking, who's Sarah Longwe? We always start with that. Where did she start from? Where did she come from? And how has she become this woman that we celebrate today?
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm Sarah Longwe. My middle name is Chupekile. And those who are Ngonis or Zulus, it means problems.
Okay.
Because of the time of my birth, I was the last born, and my mom had gone through so many miscarriages, to the extent that when she was expecting me, she thought she was just ordinarily sick.
Okay.
So when she went to see a doctor, she said, I'm very sick and I don't know what it is. And the doctor said, actually, you are pregnant. Wow. So the pregnancy was a bit dicey, to the extent that she had to have a lot of bed rest. She was in her 40s herself, in the mid-40s. That's why she never thought she was
going to be pregnant again.
She was going to be pregnant again. She'd given up. Then when I was born, I was not a very strong baby, so I was just like delicate.
Okay.
So my parents were very careful that I survived. And then, of course, because of the difficulties they went through, I was named, among my other names was Chupekile, and another one was Mafavuke, which means this one is to die and wake up again, but they left it out, but it was my nickname. Okay. Then, of course, when it came to baptism in the Christianity, that's how the Sarah came in, and it was my grandmother's Christian name, so it fitted very well.
Very well.
So with this background, I think it helped me to be who I am, because being considered as delicate, I was allowed to be a child and ask and demand answers, and whenever I was perplexed, I was able to ask. Whatever I saw which didn't make sense to me, I would ask my mother, and my father, and especially my mother all the time, because my mother was working from home as a full-time housewife and house carer and everything that goes with it. And my dad was a civil servant. So I had more time with my dad, and I was the last born, and there is about 14 years between me and my nearest sibling. She had some miscarriage. So I was at home all the time with them. So I was alone. I was like an only child, kind of. So I got all the attention I needed. So I always used to ask questions. Why? What? Most of the time. And zeroing into what we are on, I would ask why my aunt was so cruel to her junior wife, co-wife, the junior one, and then I would ask why such uncle beats beats the aunt. Everyone else is your aunt.
Yes.
Yeah. Why is auntie always beaten and all this? So I'll be asking these questions, and sometimes in the presence of some people. Maybe it's one of the aunt who is visiting, and then I'll say, why is she always being beaten? So I got known that I was one child who had funny questions. So when people arrived at home, they'll say, is your funny child around?
Okay.
They didn't want to be answering questions. So with this freedom of being allowed to ask anything and get an explanation, and if the explanation wasn't satisfactory to me, I would ask it in more questions in a different way. Sort of made me not to keep quiet when something is amiss, which I consider amiss. So I will be asking other people, do you see what I see? Do you think this should be happening? So to move a bit further, I took it to my Sunday schools, and I would ask those questions, immaculate birth, and I had a lot of questions which Sunday school, they probably don't want somebody to get into. And then I would ask the Lord's Prayer, why do we say our Father and there's no mother in it? Because there's always a mother and a father. So I just used to be dismissed that I just wasn't Christian enough. I sometimes was accused of not being very Christian, and my parents being into trouble. Because you were being inquisitive? Because I was being inquisitive. And so even at school, was in primary school, I had difficulties with arithmetic. And now that I'm older, the trouble wasn't me. It was the other way around. They didn't have patience for people who couldn't get things quickly. So the arithmetic teacher said, Sarah, don't worry, because I used to really worry. Says, why can't I get it right, So the teacher would say, don't worry, Sarah, you are just a girl, you are a girl. I said, don't bother yourself with this. I was very comfortable with that. At the time, I said, I don't have to bother. But later, when I went to secondary school, I realized that was wrong, because I had the similar difficulties. And now that I'm older, I was telling my friends to say, I think we should sue people for misleading other people. That's right. I said, if I could remember the name of the teacher, and if he's still alive, I would sue him. Because he misled me. Because now at secondary school, I was interested in mathematics, but got streamed differently. And then, of course, the patriarchalness of the schooling was very problematic for me. I always asked questions and never got answers. One of them I may just zero in is we're at secondary school. And in the second year, our head teacher said, this year, in the second year, they'll have to choose which subjects they're going to be examined on, one of the 6 subjects. Then I knew that domestic science, only girls went to domestic science. But then they said, you choose those subjects that you want to be examined in, and in relation to what you want to become thereafter. And so with my colleagues that night, I said, tomorrow is a domestic science, and we always go only as those, and the boys go and do other things. So I don't think we should go to the domestic science, because we want to be doctors, we want to be lawyers. I said I want to be a doctor, so domestic science by itself, because it's streamed alongside physics and chemistry. So I hear in being a doctor, you have to have a bit of chemistry, a bit of physics and all that. So if we are going to go with the domestic science route, this won't work. It will take us off. So we agreed, about 4 or 5 of us, we agreed that since we have to choose, we are going to choose physics and chemistry. So that morning came, and the 2 teachers, one for the domestic science and another one for the physics and chemistry, were at the doorstep of their classes to welcome new students. So there we were. It was a co-ed school. So with my 5 friends, we went along with the boys to the physics and chemistry. So Mrs. Hill, who was in the domestic science, said, Sarah, I was in the front because of the girls. Said, Sarah, you are leading your friends the wrong way. This is the way to come. I said, no. We've chosen. So we were sort of like intimidated, and my colleagues went the other way, and I continued. And now I was worried that the teacher in the physics and chemistry would send me away, but he didn't. But thereafter, there was a big discussion in the staff room why I was allowed to do what I did, because that means everyone else,
other people will
follow suit. And then I was cross-questioned why I did it. I said, well, you said choose.
That's right.
So we chose. So unless you say that you really didn't mean us to choose, you wanted us to continue the way we were.
But how old were you at this time?
At this time, I was at a secondary school. I was about 16. 15,
so at 16 you were already caucusing. At 16 you were already recognized. At that time you didn't know what it was, but you were already caucusing.
Yes.
And standing for rights, expressing yourselves.
Yes, and that is because of what happened before. Because I finished my primary school in 1960. But by then we used to have selection to go to secondary school and selection to finish what is called primary school. You got a school leaving certificate, and then this allowed you to do tertiary and other things.
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't pass to go to secondary school, which I didn't believe, and I sort of said, it's those teachers, because I ask funny questions. Okay. So they have failed me, and I didn't go for repeat, which I should have done, and tried. I said, repeating is for people who are dull. I'm not dull. That's why.
So you were very assertive. You knew who you were and what you could do.
I hadn't failed. So in the second year of staying at home, my dad was very not pleased, and wouldn't give us little pocket money or anything. And so my brother and I, we both failed to go to secondary school. So my brother left and came to do training in the city, and we were in the Boma in Chadiza. And Petauke, which was actually this particular time I was at Petauke. But the primary school I went to was in Chipata, so we're back home. So I decided, I've got to do something since I can't go back to school, so what? This arrogance I have won't take me anywhere. I came to realize that. Overheard my aunt talking to my mom and saying, Sarah doesn't go to school. she will get spoiled. The next thing is she may be pregnant, but let's marry her off. So I overheard this, and they had a name in mind of who this old gentleman, well, old by me, my son.
Yes.
He was young, but old by me. I said, gosh, now I really need to do something. So I applied to do nursing in where I was accepted for my grades, because I did pass in Chingola, Nchanga School of Nursing. And while there, of course, it was 1961, before independence. So the sisters, who were mostly Europeans, were a little bit very racist. So we came across some racism which we rose up against. And in my year, I was selected to go and be a spokesperson for my year, because they couldn't take all of us because we went on demonstration. So in 1962, we went, the spokespersons tried to negotiate the removal of this matron who was in charge of the nursing residential area. So instead of sacking all of us, they just said, we are suspending everybody by reapply, and only those who were ringleaders will come back. So for being a representative, I was a ringleader, obviously. So I knew I couldn't get back.
Wow.
So luckily they used to pay us allowance, and I knew I had enough allowance to go back home and start school again. I kept all my allowances.
Okay.
So I managed to convince my parents that I can go back.
How did your parents feel when you came back home and said, because I was the leader, they chucked me out?
Yeah, so well, it was the time when there was what can I say, political activism.
Okay.
Even civil servants like my dad,
okay.
you know, privately,
okay.
they were activists.
So that time, was part of the...
And the fact that the reason why we got chucked out is to do with racism. And at the time, political struggles included racism, which was at the center of everything.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think they commended me for...
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, for standing up, and they agreed that I can go back, and they will help me if I find a place where I can repeat.
Yes.
I can, at that time, I continue with my education school and get a better grade. So they allowed me to go to this school where we were, and that's how I found myself being a leader again against a policy which was there.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had already gone through some kind of
preparation, crucible.
Yes, and I continued to look for something that's wrong and always speaking against. So at that age, 16, I was still very active.
So you were a leader at that time?
Yes. So
and your leadership started even before that?
It started before that. It started long before, and even in the home.
So would you say that the circumstances brought out the leader in you? The society, the challenges, the things you had to stand up against. So it would be right when people say leaders emerge, the challenges cause the emergence of leaders. Yes,
you have to evolve, and you have to be at the center of it yourself, not someone pushing you.
Yes. Maybe
someone can show you a way, but that could be a trigger for you to find yourself. Hence, I call whatever I was doing as empowerment. And I consider empowerment is something that you do for yourself. Someone can assist you, can facilitate the process, but in the end, it's up to you.
So a leader is an authentic person. They're being true to themselves.
Yes.
And it is not just an event.
No.
For example, I know we're going to catch up to that when you stood up for maternity leave. You are the Sarah Parks of our time in Zambia.
Okay.
It started from some time
Started
before.
much before.
So it's not that that just happened. It's like this person has known their rights and have been standing up for their rights and did not like injustice to perpetrate itself.
Exactly.
And that is basically your story right
Yes.
now, because it started before and you had been doing. So if somebody saw you in 72, they don't understand 61, they didn't
No.
see 62, they didn't see 63,
They didn't see 50s.
they didn't see the
The
50s.
50s when I was struggling with the teachers.
Yes,
Oh, so it's something that says being a leader is that much earlier. It must be in you to fight injustice, because you don't just lead for the sake of leading. You lead to overcome
yes,
an obstacle.
yes.
That obstacle might deal with you as an individual, then you deal it at the individual level. But what comes, what do they say? What comes goes up.
Goes around, comes around.
Comes
What goes
around.
up must
What
come
comes
down.
up comes around.
Yes.
Because if you did your individual fight properly,
Yes,
taking in all the considerations, other people start benefiting from it.
absolutely.
And it's when they see that they are also benefiting that the leadership in you grows.
Absolutely.
Because they not only will they look up to you for what you helped them with that time,
Yes,
but also what else they are looking at as an issue, and they consult you. How
Yes.
will it?
yes.
What should we do with this? So
Because you have shown yourself.
yes, you've shown yourself.
And now they can believe in you because they're beneficiaries of it.
Exactly. So the leadership starts with how you lead yourself,
Wonderful.
how you recognize what you don't like, and you don't just leave it there and lament about it, but you figure out, how can I do it? If you can
Wonderful.
do it on your own, well and good, but if you can do it with others, I discovered very early on that when others are part of it, it's more sustainable.
Wonderful.
Like the discussion on whether to be streamed domestic science and physics and chemistry. It's something I thought of before, but talked to my colleagues, and we started off more.
Yes.
Supposing if I had been the only one walking across to the physics and chemistry, I think I wouldn't have achieved, I wouldn't have been able in the end to change the policy of the school. The school from that on decided they are not going to make a timetable before the pupils had chosen.
So change comes when people stand up.
And I learned that if something is going to be sustainable and you're going to enjoy it more, involve others if you can. But if you can't, then you go it alone, which are some of the things I had done on maternity
Yes.
leave when I was denied. I wrote a very strong letter, but on its own it was just read and filed. But when collectively we raised the same issues through Zambia Association for Research and Development, that we need to adhere to the International Labour Organization Convention on paid maternity leave, are treated as a national duty. Women are doing a national and humanity duty, and they shouldn't be punished, and they shouldn't do it themselves. But when we're collective, the same things I said much earlier now had a bigger audience.
It's so beautiful to hear, man, because you didn't have who to teach you this. Today, a lot of people have people to teach them how to mobilize, how to caucus, how to do all that. You learned it just by going on. You learned it from the events that happened, and you saw the difference, and you chose. And you say to us, don't lament about what you can change. Stand up and do something about it. Don't complain about what you permit. If you allow them to suppress your rights, that's your choice, but you can do something about it. And it's better to do it collectively.
And also it means that even if it may seem like you did it alone, you didn't do it alone.
No, you didn't do it alone.
All what I've shared here, I didn't alone. I didn't do it alone. There was some support. Somebody listened to me, agreed with me, or they didn't agree at first, but eventually I'm sure
they came around.
They came around. So leadership is to know that you are not working on your own. You have others. Yeah.
And you had to strategize. I couldn't get it on my own. Then we formed Zambia Association of Research and Development. So you came under a body. So because people watching today, these are basics you are teaching us just from your life story. There's something I can do on my own. Or if it has to do with many more, get more people, and then you organize and form an organization that was a stronger voice to advocate for these rights.
Yes. And even the organization didn't come out of nowhere. It's some other feminists who went to America, to Wesley University, and they were lamenting, they were academicians, about research being too formal. And since Africa has fewer people in formal education, there must be some research skills, indigenous research skills among the women who didn't go to school or didn't go even to the university. So somebody listened, and I think it was the Swedish leader who listened and said, okay, we'll give you some money. There were 6 of them from 5 different countries. They said, okay, if we give you money, would you form an association that would tap on such skills, not necessarily academic, but so they decided that they'll come and consult. So one of them came to Zambia, and that was Catherine Mwanamwambo, who is the wife of our former Speaker of Parliament. She came and talked to a few of us. I think she noticed who to talk to. We were already in conversation about other things. So she said, hey, there is this thing, and I've agreed that the consultative meeting will happen in Lusaka. So I just don't want to be alone talking to my colleagues, but I want this thing to grow. Do you know other people whom we can figure out how the Zambian situation can host this meeting and be part of it and learn, so that we start our own organization. And that's how it started. And the bigger regional organization, which you know about, is the Association of African Women Research and Development, AWOD. Yeah, so that's why ZAD also followed that kind of naming, Zambia Association for Research and Development. We didn't put women because the political scene at the time
was not favorable. If you sounded like you were being feminist, as an association, that was the end of you. So we kept. It's another talk. Yes. So we kept the word women out of it, but then we put it in the association that we're going to do action related research, so that anybody who is interested in doing investigation on gender issues can become a member, male or female. Wonderful.
But we made sure that the women were the ones leading. So you can see that whatever we do, that's what I'm saying, why I brought this example, that even associations don't start on their own. Even the person who may have initiated something started from somewhere. And from that somewhere was with somebody, Yeah.
So it's collective.
It's collective.
It's collective, and people should learn. Even today, women must come together, learn to, because today a lot of people want to be seen as I am the one doing this. So we are so divided, and we're not talking together as a voice.
Yeah. And also the fact that women make their own, form own organization. It's step one to gain confidence, to support one another, and affirm that yes, we are in the right path. Because whatever is being decided in that organization of women, it has to be how to mingle with the rest of the community. Who will be male, who will be female, who will be old, who will be young, who will be children. So forming an association is just a strategy, a tactic, where you get your views together and then sort of jumpstart the revolution, because if you wait for evolution in a natural way, it will take a long time.
Too long.
And that's why there are trainings as well to jumpstart people, to say you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Assess yourself, you are here, so you can move to this other level.
So if you wait for evolution, it may take too long.
It may take too long.
And it may not be in your lifetime.
It may not.
So get in the driver's seat and make things happen.
Yeah, I like the one MP in Kenya, when they came up with a constitutional clause which said there shall not be a composition where one gender is more than 2/3.
Okay, 2/3.
Well, it's 2/3.
Yes.
So to make sure that because once you are 2/3, you can bulldoze anything.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So this MP said we need this when people were fighting against it, and some Kenyan colleagues said quoted him saying that we can't wait for an evolution to bring about gender equality, otherwise we will wait forever.
That's right.
So we need this affirmative action. And whatever affirmative action is there is just a jump start, it's temporary, and it's to just help people to look at other things. Because once you overcome one gender issue or any wrongdoing, injustice, you start seeing other forms of injustices, and you need to deal with them.
So tell us, we go front a bit, and that's why I call you Rosa Parks.
Thank you.
Because you stood up for why are women not being paid when they have maternity leave, when they haven't done anything wrong. They didn't choose to be women. You can't punish them for that. You also went on to stand against, why shouldn't we be able to wear trousers? Can you tell us about that? And how was it that at that time you were able to stand and other people, that is not comparing and saying this or that, but just the mind you had at that time to do those things?
Yes. Well, for me to like trousers, I saw other people wearing trousers.
Yes.
And I liked them. And then I went to teach at a couple of the girls. And we had a headmistress then who used to like to wear what you call bubu.
Okay,
yes. From West Africa. Yeah, she was a European origin, and that was her way of becoming Africanness in her thinking. So she wore bubus, and she saw that as a good style from femininity and also from being African. And so she didn't like Western way of dressing, which was her background.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, so being in authority, so she was able to misuse her authority and exerted that her teachers wear dresses, but not trousers. But then came along Sarah and other people. I even actually asked, why can't we wear trousers? He said, well, it is a rule. So I said, okay, can you find that rule or policy? Because we signed somewhere as teachers. And I can't remember where I signed, but I'm sure it is there, where everyone signs.
Not to wear trousers.
So can you, two things, find where it says in where we sign and where there's a policy. So she said, and we said, okay, in the meantime, we'll wait. But she left the post before that got concluded, and an acting head came, who came from Matero Girls, where women teachers wore trousers alongside their male counterparts. So we took it upon ourselves, says, oh, she's come from where people wear trousers, therefore we should just...
It should be easier.
Yeah, it should be easier for us to wear trousers. So we all just started wearing trousers. And then one by one, people were not wearing trousers, and then I asked her, there was a fellow teacher called Margaret. I said, Margaret, you love trousers. How come you've stopped? She says, you haven't heard. I said, no, I haven't heard. He says, well, I got called in and I was told this school they don't wear trousers. I said, oh, this school? We were waiting to be shown the rule or the policy. Oh, well, I'm not going to stop until I get called in. So like that, one by one, everyone stopped wearing, and I was the only one wearing, and I had maybe 2 or 3 trousers, and I made sure I made sure I was in trousers and wash it overnight or whatever, and my children, the children as well, if it got messed up, I made sure that I was in trousers until my day came when I was called, and I stood my ground. I said, well, your colleague didn't give us the policy, didn't show us the policy, and we were waiting for the policy. That's why you found us not wearing trousers. Now you've come where women wore trousers, so surely you can continue with that policy. She says, no. So since she was a Zambian looking like me, she took it very racial, that I was standing up.
Because she was
black, and we accepted the other one because she was white. I said, you can take whatever you like, just bring that policy. You will see me in trousers. You won't see me in trousers anymore. So she didn't, so I continued, and instead she brought in officials from the head office, and I was forever being called in and out to explain myself, and my grounds were the same, and in the end I said, okay, I'm going to report this harassment to the investigator general, who is an ombudsperson. And now with the new constitution, I think it's a public protector, something like that. And then they had a discussion with that public protector then, I should say investigator general, and it was a man then, and he told them, he says, she's right, there's no such thing, so you are just harassing her, and if she takes you to court, she will win and you will lose. So I was left alone.
Thank you for standing. And now they've left all the women alone.
Yes.
They can wear trousers.
They can wear trousers, because I remember I went there for another issue of, there was a young girl who sued her school. She just come from primary school, and she was there. And before she went there, she had a case of sexual harassment, actually defilement. So with another organization, we were following it up, and she was there, and I went to talk to the headmistress then, And then he said, "You're Sarah Wongwe, are you?" I said, "Yes, I'm the one." He says, "Oh, thank you very much." And she was in trousers. I wouldn't be in trousers if it weren't for you. So
why do we do today, with all the advancements and the achievements, why do people still shame women for dressing the way they like when they go to the markets, when they do stuff? How do you feel when you hear about those things?
I feel very hurt. And in any way I can, I try to get involved and pull strings with colleagues and make the authorities know that this is not on.
Yeah.
Even going to the inspector of police, general inspector of police, we've done that.
Because it's an abuse of rights.
Yes, we've done that, and so what I do is I get hurt, but I always try and work with other organizations, because we do have now organizations, and we do also have lawyers that are ready to
stand for such things.
Stand up and bring the legal aspect to it, to say this is illegal, this is what. And of course with the social media we are able to organize on social media, and everybody's saying the same. And if there's a clip, we tell each other, don't share the clip, just explain what happened, and let's take action.
Wonderful.
So it is actually gender-based violence. It is against the Act.
It is.
And we bring to the attention of members of the public, if it was done at a market, what do the market officials say, and if people are taking pictures like that of someone being undressed and sharing, what does ZICTA do? You know, they could easily get hold of the first person who shared, you know, and charge them.
So I like where you have brought that out, because a lot of us think that is some cultural thing, but you have made it clear that is gender-based violence. So it's the same way it's in law, it's assault and battery.
Yes.
It's the same thing you're doing to that girl. She dressed up, came out, entered the minibus, and people are shaming her. It is gender. So if we're talking about ending gender-based violence and eliminating every form of discrimination, that is one thing people must also know.
Yes.
That stands for gender-based violence.
It may be cultural. Maybe cultural that people pay much attention on what they call decent dressing in girls and boys. But is it illegal?
It's not illegal.
Is it legal?
She has her rights.
And of course, at Kablongo Girls, we did go to Parents Teachers Association and brought the issue to the parents to say, what do you have against the female teachers wearing trousers? They said as long as it's decent. And then others said it's better they don't wear miniskirts, because at that time we used to wear miniskirts.
Yes.
You know, and I know if I wanted, I would interchange with my micro mini with the trousers.
Okay. I'm waiting for you to call me.
To call me.
Yes, call me.
So decency is something that a community, a society have agreed upon. Yes. You know, and if we have a dress code, then we follow the dress code, and then the dress code doesn't come arbitrary.
No, it doesn't
something
come arbitrary.
that we should think about, because some culture are very negative, some culture are very positive.
That's right.
So we are now in the realm of human rights. Let us look at what cultural practice respects human rights of every individual.
Absolutely.
What cultural practices dehumanize.
Moreover, culture is meant to be dynamic.
Yes, and it's dynamic.
It is dynamic.
It's dynamic, and that's the problem I used to have with any religion. Now,
Please go, because religion is a form of culture.
Yes, it's a form of culture.
And religion should not in any way discriminate or violate the rights of women.
Exactly. So my husband and I, we decided, we said, well, are we going to baptize our kids? Because we're both baptized.
Okay.
He was Anglican and I was Presbyterian. And we decided no, because he also had similar experience like I had, that when you ask certain questions, you are classified to be demonic or whatever. And we said, no, we won't baptize them, let them choose. So we would go to church, and at the end of the sermon, my husband and I always used to have an argument and have a queue behind us, because they used to stand at the door and greet people as they go. So I would probably be the one who always started. Why did you do that sermon? That sermon means women. He says, well, it's the Bible. I said, yes, it's the Bible, but do we have to go to what was then? If there was hatred for women at that time, why should we encourage it now?
Absolutely.
So Christianity is dynamic. So
because Christianity has changed. Christianity has acknowledged, the same Jesus has acknowledged that there should be no discrimination. So why should we preach what he didn't preach?
Yes, exactly.
He has never discriminated. In fact, the first person to see him resurrected was a woman.
Yes.
By choice.
Yes.
So why should anybody discriminate against women in the name of...
Yes. So even when we go to church, at the wedding of my first daughter, with the in-laws, we agreed with them that whatever church readings we have are going to be gender neutral. Respect the rights of the couple. But they managed to get behind us, and my sister, my eldest sister, who was the matron, was not taught until the Bible was
being read.
The verse was being read, So when it was being read on my side, we all went, woo! And the preacher had to explain, to say this was then, but don't take it to mean today.
Absolutely.
So indeed, every practice is dynamic. Every action is a dynamic. As they say, there's time for this, time for that. So
totally.
It's the same with in my women's empowerment. When I use it, I ask people to say, what is it in the situation where you are, where you think this is no longer attainable? So we start with what is now and then interpret as we go along.
So it is very good, therefore, for women to question things.
Yes.
It is not being a rebel, it is being a woman.
You're being true to yourself. Actually, what I tell people, I said, trust no one, including yourself, because you have to question your thoughts too.
Yes.
So trust no one.
And the search is for the truth, isn't it? The search is for the truth, and because what may have been valid in 1950 because of the circumstance may not be valid today.
No.
And therefore you can't make us leave the injustice of the 50s and continue perpetrating it in the name of this is our culture or this is religion, because religion also is dynamic.
Yes,
I believe that for us that believe, Jesus came to take away religion, not bind you more into religion. But he came to say this doesn't work anymore.
You live just like your life. You start off as a fetus. You become a baby, you become an adult, you become an old person, you die. So there is a graduation from one place to another, and it should be incremental and positive. Yes, it should be positive.
Yes.
So if your incremental is negative, you've got to look around and say, what's this? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, similarly, my last daughter, I have 4 offspring, 4 girls and 1 boy.
Okay.
And the one who got married 6 years ago, we told her to walk down the aisle by herself.
Oh, really?
And then we managed to convince her to say, look, this is choice between the two of you, and let's not do anything that will give your partner some age way or yourself that you could use to subdue one another. So since there was no lobola, by choice, in my tradition, which is Tumbuka, we pay lobola. And it's the women who ask us, good, we are the female, the bridal side, and we're not asking for it. So at least no one will force us to.
Okay.
Whereas if you are on the bridegroom side, you know, you are first with the bride side, which is asking for it.
Yes,
it's very difficult for you to say, no, we are not going to do it. So
I'm sure a lot of people will be happy if you had more daughters. They'll be coming to your home.
They always say they are free. No lobola was paid on me because it's two different cultures.
That's right.
And with a different meaning.
That's right. That's right.
From my husband's culture is buying.
That will be buying.
That will be buying. It's slavery. And then on my side also, I think it is buying because the female side gets a ransom. They get the money for what they did with the girl. What about what they did with the boy? So it's a mutual thing, you know. So
and it makes the boy think she's his property.
Yes, his property.
Because
And indeed, I've had discussions with colleagues with degrees and others are professors. I said, when the chips are down, that lobola thing will come. They said, yes, it's true. They've affirmed that, yes. When they ask, darling, where have you been? He says, I didn't pay lobola to be asked where I came from. I want fresh food, but you were not here when you were cooking. He says, no, I didn't pay lobola so that I should eat leftovers. You know, that kind of thing. So we had to, with my daughter, we had to go to the preacher, you know, and ask and tell the reverend, the father, it was a Catholic school, to say, the bride is going to come alone. Because he came to us to greet us. I think some people told them, said, those are the parents. And they said, how come they're coming ahead of?
Yeah.
So he came to talk to us, so we told him, we said, oh,
this is what we've chosen to do.
What is happening? And then he asked, he says, why have you chosen? We said, well, there are doubts. They chose each other. And we don't, first of all, we don't want to answer your question. So he said, what question is that? I said, you're going to ask us, who brings this woman?
Who gives her away in
or
marriage?
Who gives away this woman? There's no giving, there's no taking. So we wouldn't answer that question. So it's best she comes down.
I like this thinking. We should think about reforming these things. They may not become archaic.
Yes,
so we should think, because it's their choice. They made the choices.
They made the choice, and I have seen many times to my face with my cousins, and where lobola has been paid, and where the marriage is toxic, and she wants to leave, and they said, no, unless the lobola is paid. And then she asks, she says, who paid the lobola? Go and give it back so that I can leave. So most of my cousins have just picked their children and left.
Wow.
Yeah.
You have gone on now to give the world a framework for gender analysis and for bringing equality in achieving gender equality in the world. The first time, like I said, I've been privileged to sit and to train among women, and it has really opened me up to learn, and I'm still a student of the challenges women face, the barriers, and for the first time I came to understand gender.
Well, thank you.
And through those years, from 2012, one name that has always come up to me was Sarah Longway, because I used to hear the women say, this is the only African, so we should use Sarah Longway because she's the only African that has given us a framework that understands us. So if we are going to use a framework, use Sarah Longway. And today I'm sitting in front of her.
Thank you.
Tell us about your framework.
Yeah, this framework actually is my life. What I've been talking about is my framework. What I realized first and foremost is the injustice, either at welfare level, or being denied access to resources, or being told this is the way it is, this is the natural way, or this is the way we did it, you know. So the belief, you just accept the belief. And then and this belief is reinforced because there is a lot of mobilization around it for the belief to stand, you know. And then of course, if the belief is understood by everybody, then it becomes a norm and perpetuates this suffering a woman is going through, or anything. But in this case, for me, it was a woman. So in 1986, there was a training in Sussex where they were looking at women, men, and development. And since I had my first degree at university in 1972, and I embarked on gender struggles as well as in my life, I wanted to go and do a master's. But then I saw colleagues who would go on and come back, all fiery. When they came back, they started accepting some of the patriarchal things, you know. So I said, if that's the case, then I don't want to go, and I don't want to go for a long time. So there was this 3 months. And every time I was being asked, other people are happy about this, how come, Sarah, you are questioning it? You know, I kept on being asked that question. And when I did my postgraduate, I did it in organizational psychology, you know, because I was fascinated why organizations discriminate against women. You know, psychologically, you know, the rules, the bureaucracy, you know, doesn't seem to favor women at all. So that diploma was also at the master's level. So I said, I'll go at the diploma level so I don't stay too long. It didn't give me answers. So then I heard there was this 3 months course which looks at women, men, and development. And again, they didn't want to say it was on gender equality as such, because otherwise no one was going to was going to pay for that course, or they may not get students. So they had a neutral name. So I went to it, and I came across a framework of Caroline Moser, which looked at practical needs and strategic interest. And that interested me. And so when I came back after that 3 months, because everybody came back or went away with a project which they were going to do. So I came back with a proposal which I wanted to do, but I didn't have any funding. But I was already a member of Zambia Association for Research and Development. So we started talking loudly about underdevelopment of women and the nation as a whole. So a Dutch organization, SNV, gave us a project at Zambia Association for Research and Development to analyze their work, because the organization now had a gender policy. So they wanted to see how were they going to implement the policy. So they wanted us to help them see how they were missing the gender equality, and to see how their policy would help them. So to fast forward, so we did this work, and we had the we relied on our experiences. And I had just come back from Sussex. And then Caroline Mosa, with his practical needs and strategic interests, kept on ringing in my head. So we came up with a criteria for about 9 to show whether a project was towards women's development or not. And that report, when we launched it, we launched it. They wanted us to launch it, and other development agencies came. UNDP was one of them, and they listened and were very fascinated. And so they approached me and said, Sarah, we want you to do a similar analysis by yourself, because we want it to be done quickly, because it took us 2 years. It took us 2 years. I want it done quickly. And I had just lost my job at the university because, again, on a gender issue. That's another day. This work of discussion. And so I took on this job to look at a project that UNIFEM at the time was funding under UNDP in Northern Province. So I looked at what we did with that, and I saw there was some repetition. So I reduced it from 9 to 5. And these are the criteria which are, women's empowerment framework welfare, where the women are just asked, you can join this project, or they are told, you can join this project, but it's already designed. And then there is somewhere where they say we will be giving so much, and again, they have no say, they accept. So there is an opportunity given. Seems like it's the equal opportunity, but it's not. It's not. Then again, for them to access this opportunity and improve their welfare, it becomes a hurdle, because they have to conform to the beliefs on gender relations, which they've accepted all this time as the norm. Now they're going to change it. So there was need to reconscientize themselves, make new decisions, whether to challenge or not to challenge, and to realize that discrimination is a set of negatives which have been decided, before, and they've been made to make you believe that's the way it should be. That's the way it should be.
And you accept it.
And you accepted it. So you need to de-learn. So the conscientization is a way of reflection and choosing, I'll either go this way or not, or remain the same. Yeah. So then, if you've taken that stance that you are going to challenge this, you can't do it on your own. This is where collectivity comes in. You have to mobilize. So you definitely start seeking someone, just like me, when they said choose between physics and chemistry and the home economics. I had to find who else was unhappy about that choice. So collectively we decided to do something, and then one teacher decided to accept my choice, and it became a collective discussion and a realization to say we cannot continue doing this way. In that way, then it brings about change. So then you are in control of that situation, in that you get rid of the injustice. But having gotten rid of the injustice, or even sometimes not having gotten rid of it because you haven't done enough mobilization and conscientization, it also opens your mind. What else is wrong? So instead of just talking about one thing, you include other things, and people are able to see, so the welfare will improve.
Yes.
So, and I looked at my life, that's what my life has been.
So your life basically became the foundation.
Yes.
And the basis of that.
The basis.
Because you had lived it.
I've
you had
lived
gone
it.
through it.
And whenever I wanted an example, I had it.
Yes.
As an individual. And if I looked further, there are other people who also had it in a different way.
In a different way.
Yeah.
You know, it is so sad for me that we have so short a time. And I definitely am asking, not I will be asking, I'm asking if we can have more time with you.
Sure.
Because our hour is fast spent and we still want to learn.
Have to edit.
we don't even want to edit. I think the richness of it shouldn't be edited. But we would like to have another time with you. And I pray that you would accord us that privilege of sitting to glean from your experiences and your wisdom. You have been shining as a star for us as Zambian women. You have represented this country. You brought about the ratification. You worked with the team bringing about the ratification of CEDAW in Zambia as way back as how many, 20-something years ago? 1985. You went with the team to Beijing. Before then,
went to Nairobi.
You have been in the fight, and a lot of the dividends a lot of young girls enjoy today is based on your fights and your struggles, which have been encapsulated in the Saralangwe framework in bringing about gender equality. We cannot celebrate you enough, but we thank you for staying in the fight.
Thank you.
We thank you for enduring the fight.
Thank you for coming to a grandmother of 9.
You don't look a grandmother, you look so young and beautiful.
Thank you.
And we
fight.
really honor you.
The fight, you fight.
We kept you young.
Yes.
Awesome. So please keep fighting so you live 120 years.
Okay, thank
and
you.
you'll just be here and we can always come and learn from you. You're not just grandmother to us, you're grandmother to the whole of Zambia. Now I think some people like Kasongo are great grandmother now because Kasongo is just starting her journey, and it's such an honor that you are sucking into such people their lives.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for being here.
So we want to thank you. We celebrate you. We're looking forward to another time with you, and we honor the work you have done and your achievements. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. Viewers, we have been talking to, you can see we don't want to leave, but we have to leave. We've been talking to Saralangwe, one of the foremost female rights activists, women rights activists in Zambia. She is not only known for her work in Zambia, our history, when you look at her work right from the 50s into the 60s, she's gone on close to all her life. She's been advocating and asking questions, and the questions have brought about the right outcomes, and she's still paving the way for many young women to come through. We really have seen some of the roots of the victories we have had, where it started from. And she's taught us that, look, sometimes you can't do it alone. You have to get into a group. You have to strategize. You have to organize. You have to bring your voices together. But making a change, we must. She said that culture is dynamic. Therefore, we should not wait till we evolve, but we should start to bring a resolution of things now in our lifetime. She has been an advocate. She has been in the fight. Now we celebrate her life. Tomorrow we'll bring you another woman that is on her journey. She may not be where Sarah is, but she is somewhere along her journey. And we'll be listening to her leadership story and what she has done for women in Zambia. We thank you for being with us on Scars to Stars today. We look forward to being with you again tomorrow evening as we bring another leading woman in Zambia. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening. See you tomorrow.